Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with Game 12, the last game of the 2018 World Championship match between the champion Magnus Carlsen and his challenger Fabiano Caruana. And here we see the handshake before the game, which was played on Monday the 26th of November, white Caruana, black Carlsen. And for the sixth time in 6 white games, Caruana opened with e4. c5 from the world champion, knight f3, knight c6, and not the bishop b5 Rossolimo variation we saw on the first 3 games where Caruana played white, but d4, an open Sicilian, which he also played in game 8 and game 10. C takes, knight f6, knight c3, and for the third time we see the Sveshnikov on the board, and the same variation. Knight db5, d6, bishop g5 is the main move, but Caruana has played knight d5 in game 8 and game 10, and he also played this in game 12. Knight takes, e takes, and in game 8 and game 10 Carlsen went back to b8 with his knight, but in this game he was the first to deviate. He played knight e7, the move he had prepared for this game. c4, and knight f5 is the main move here, but Carlsen went to g6. And now bishop d3 is possible, and bishop e2 is also in the database, but Caruana played queen a4, a third option. Now you have to be careful, we have this discovered check in the position. Queen d7 would be a big blunder because of knight c7 check, and after king d8, white swaps the queens and then takes a rook in the corner. White wins. That was not going to happen. Carlsen found the right move, bishop d7. Queen b4, attacking this pawn with 2 pieces now. Black can play queen b8 to protect this pawn twice, but Carlsen chose another way, bishop f5. Now also the pawn on d6 is protected well enough. For a moment the whole chess world was worried about Caruana playing queen a4 and bishop d7 with a move repetition, but Garry Kasparov said that would be a moral capitulation of Caruana, wasting a game with the white pieces like this. It was not going to happen. After bishop f5, Caruana played h4, played by Vladimir Kramnik in the Olympiad this year in the Russia versus Serbia match. And can we not just take that pawn, because we are attacking it twice with queen and knight? It's only defended by the rook, but no, that is not very good. If we take, then rook takes, very nice move. And the best move here is a6, kicking the knight first. But if you take the rook, then white wins. Knight c7 check, king d8, and again we take on a8, and this is winning position for white. Kramnik's opponent played a6 in this position, kicking the knight, but Carlsen played something else. White is threatening to play h5, pushing the knight back, and that is quite uncomfortable for black as he does not have a lot of space. Carlsen was well prepared. He played the next move immediately, h5. Caruana took some time to think about his next move. He had clearly not prepared h5, and they came up with queen a4. And again there was a slight worry that we would see a move repetition. Bishop d7, queen b4, and bishop f5. But Caruana, as said, was not going to do that. He played bishop e3, and now the pawn on a7 is attacked twice. But Garry Kasparov suggested to first play bishop g5, hitting the queen, and you cannot really play bishop e7 because of bishop takes, and you have to take back with the king, which you do not really want to do to avoid losing this pawn. So after bishop g5, black should play f6, and then you go back to e3, having lured that pawn to f6, which could be a weakness for black. Kasparov thought this was better than bishop e3 straight away, which Caruana played. Carlsen played a6 to avoid losing that pawn and kicking the knight back. Here Judith Polgar gave a nice variation which I have to show you. She looked at c5, and then d takes c5 is winning for black, but let me show you that nice variation which comes on the board if black takes the piece here, takes the knight. Then bishop takes check, king e7, c takes d6 check. You cannot take with the queen because of bishop c5 winning the queen, but if after c takes d6 check you go to f6 with the king, then we know why the pawn went to h4, because bishop g5 is a very nice checkmate. Always nice to see a checkmate. Okay, back to the serious stuff. After a6, Caruana, of course, did not play c5. He played his knight back to c3. Queen c7. Judith Polgar said, a big question here is where both players will castle, and if they will castle at all. Qa4 said, it will be hard for both sides to find safe bunkers for their kings, especially because they have already played h4 and h5. Castling kingside is then not so logical, and also on the queen side, a lot of pawn moves are made, so the king will not feel very safe there either. That's something for the players to sort out in the next few moves. g3 from Caruana, bishop e7 developing from Carlsen, and here queen d6 was given as an alternative by Garry Kasparov, solving the problem of where to put the kings, because after a queen trade the kings can stay in the center. Queen b6 was not played by Caruana, he played f3. Grandmaster Ashley said this is sharpening up the position considerably, and Qa4 said white is stopping e4 and knight e5 as a possible plan, activating the knight on g6, which is a bit offside. Garry Kasparov said, I would not have played f3, it creates potentially too many weaknesses. Carlsen played knight f8 to reroute his knight to better squares. Knight e4, a logical follow-up from f3. Knight d7 as planned. Bishop d3. Carlsen decides to castle, kingside. And look at this move, rook h2 from Caruana. Kasparov said, white is planning to castle queenside and meet b7, b5 with rook h2 to c2. Grandmaster Ashley said, is that not a risky way to play, Gary? Kasparov said, yes, but chess is a risky game, and this is the World Championship. Grandmaster Ashley added, white is playing slowly in a position that has pawn breaks for black, especially the bishop g6 and then f5 break was looked at, was analyzed a lot in several of the broadcasts that I followed. Rook ac8 was Carlsen's reply, who had half an hour more on the clock at this point. 40 minutes for Caruana and an hour and 10 minutes for Carlsen. We're on move 21. Indeed, Caruana castled queenside. Bishop g6, preparing the f5 break. Rook c2, stabilizing his position, stopping the b5 break, because white can just take that pawn then, with a tempo on black's queen. At this moment, Caruana only had 31 minutes left, Carlsen 1 hour and 6 minutes, and he played f5. The knight can go to g5, but Caruana played it to f2. Grandmaster Ashley said the knight sucks on f2. Where is it going next? I almost want to play it to h3, so it can go to g5, where it could have gone straight away from e4. Nobody was really impressed with the knight f2 move by Caruana. Knight c5. Grandmaster Saruman explained one threat of black's is take on d3 and then f5, f4, opening up this bishop. So Caruana's move is logical, f4 to stop that idea. Black's army is beautifully coordinated, only bishop g6 is a bad piece, it's also unprotected on g6. White's pieces are not working well together. Here b7 to b5 is an important move. Carlsen was asked after the game, why did you not play b5? Carlsen answered, this was not my goal, I have a clear path with a5 and e4, which gives me a completely safe position where I can maybe play for a win, and it seemed nonsense to me to go for something else. And then he was asked, one of the computers actually gives an advantage of -2 for black in this position. What do you think of that, Magnus? Carlsen said, I don't care. He played a5. Grandmaster Ashley said, this is an odd move from Carlsen, forcing the white queen to a better square and giving up on the b7, b5 idea. Grandmaster Saruman said, a5 is very perplexing. Ashley said, playing for b5 is, I'm going to rip your head off. a5 is a more squeezing approach, more in line with Carlsen's style. The queen went back to d2, e4, bishop back to e2, and bishop e8. Carlsen is shutting down all counterplay and still has the b7, b5 break to play for if he wants to. King b1, bishop f6. This is move 28, 25 minutes left for Caruana versus 55 minutes for Carlsen. And here knight h3 was looked at with the idea of knight g5 and knight e6 on a good day, as Grandmaster Saruman put it. but Caruana played rook e1 instead. And now a4 from Carlsen. Vladimir Kramnik came in one of the broadcasts in the St. Louis Chess Club 1, and he said Carlsen is trying to win in a technical way with zero risk. He could have played more sharply. His position was close to winning. It's still very unpleasant for White. I don't like it for White at all. White has no real counterplay. He has to decide if he wants to exchange the bishops on d4 and put his knight on e3. So this bishop to d4 and this knight being played through d1 to e3. Or the knight h3 to g5 maneuver, Kramnik said. But black has free play on the queen side. Then the knight might be offside on g5. Caruana said after the game that he was more worried about bishop a4. Carlsen said he was not in the right frame of mind to play this. Caruana showed this variation. He said I can play b3, but then I was worried about a sacrifice on b3. Or the bishop just retreating, he said. The sacrifice goes as follows. Bishop takes b3, a takes, knight takes, hitting the queen, queen d1, and then a4 with a big attack against White's exposed king. Another move after bishop a4 is rook c1, as Caruana showed, but then he said b5. And if you take on b5, there is queen b6, and black is better. And if you, after b5, play bishop d4, which Caruana said he did not like at all, then he showed this variation: bishop takes, queen takes, b takes c4, rook takes, bishop b5, rook back, the bishop gets swapped, and then either queen b6 or rook b8. And Caruana said, I have a really passive position and my king is weak. So bishop a4 was the move that Caruana was afraid of. Carlsen said he was not in the right frame of mind to play that. And I said he played a4. Queen b4, improving the queen. 15 minutes from Caruana for the last 10 moves. Carlsen still had 50 minutes. Carlsen said he had hoped for bishop d4 in this position, after which black wins with knight d3. Nice tactical shot. All tactics work out in black's favor. Carlsen played g6, again slowly improving his position, and rook d1. Carlsen said afterwards that he had missed the queen b4 rook d1 maneuver. He played rook a8, again strengthening his position. And now the biggest shock of the game. I was watching both players on the live webcam. I was listening to Vladimir Kramnik explaining the different plans for black in this position. And suddenly I saw on the webcam that both players shook hands. Shock and confusion on all the platforms. Nobody could believe that Carlsen had offered a draw in this advantageous position. I'll show you some of the reactions of the Grandmasters in a minute. Caruana said in his interview after the game that he was planning to play knight h3 and knight g5 and bishop d4. And Carlsen showed this variation in the press conference. He showed bishop d4 straight away, then bishop takes, rook takes, queen a5. That was Carlsen's plan. Queen takes, rook takes, knight d1 on its way to c3, then b5, c takes, bishop takes, rook takes. There comes the knight to c3, hitting the rook, rook a5, and then either rook b4 or a3, said Carlsen, and White is okay. He had missed the queen b4 rook d1 maneuver and did not feel he had any advantage here. Grandmaster Giri said when Magnus' life is on the line, suddenly he's not Magnus anymore. I've never ever seen Magnus offer a draw in a position like this. It's a nervous breakdown from Magnus. Alexander Grishuk said, if I get offered a draw in such a position, I'll grab his hand as quickly as I can. Vladimir Kramnik had some strong words to say. He said, I cannot believe it. It's a shame for black to offer a draw. He is just better without any risk. It's just absurd and unthinkable. Something is wrong with Magnus. This is not the way you play the World Championship. You have to fight. Judith Polgar said, I think they could not stand the pressure. Here's the confirmation of the 12 draws. The score is 6-all after the 12 classical games. And I will inform you about the tiebreak in a minute. The picture is from the press conference after game 12. Magnus Carlsen said it was very tense. We had an unbalanced position from the opening. I got some initiative. In the final position, my position looks better than it is. My a4 was hasty. I missed this maneuver with queen b4 and rook d1. Then I don't think I could make anything more of it. I'm okay with the draw. I have not lost a game. I would have liked to win a game, but the tiebreak is my forte. Caruana is a very tough player and very, very strong. I think I have very good chances in the tiebreak, but I don't know what will happen. Caruana said, we were both nervous. I hoped I could play well and put pressure on him, but my opening did not go well. I was down a lot of time and had a position I did not feel comfortable with. I was a bit surprised by the draw offer. I have no active ideas, but I thought I was over the worst of it. It was much more dangerous a few moves earlier. Whoever has more energy for the tiebreak will have the better chances. I feel mainly relieved, as it was quite close today. I was very worried. I felt I was on the brink of defeat. I had a very dangerous position. So we're going into a tiebreak, and the drawing of lots was done straight after the press conference. Carlsen was allowed to choose first and he picked the white king. Caruana picked the black king, which means that Carlsen will start in game 1 of the rapid section in the tiebreak. These are the tiebreak rules. We will play 4 rapid games with 25 minutes plus a 10-second increment. As mentioned, Carlsen starts with white. If after those 4 rapid games the score is 2-all, then there will be a new drawing of lots, and then we'll play 2 blitz games with 5 minutes plus a 3-second increment. If after those 2 games the score is still equal, then there will be 4 more sets of 2 blitz games. And if after 4 rapid games and a total of 10 blitz games the score is still equal, then there will be a new drawing of lots. The winner can choose the color in the Armageddon game, which will see 5 minutes for white, 4 minutes for black, with a 3-second increment, but only from move 61. If the game is a draw, black wins the match. And I will put the exact wording from the match regulations on screen after I say goodbye to you, so you can read them at your leisure. Tuesday the 27th of November will be a rest day, and the tiebreak will be played on Wednesday the 28th of November. I cannot wait. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. And of course, I will be reporting on the tiebreak. I will post a video a few hours after the tiebreak has finished. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.